What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines surrounding the Washington Wizards. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Drop your comments with any thoughts you have for me on this video or anything you want to hear me talk about in the future. As always, guys, appreciate all of your support here on the page. Keep tuning in every single weekday. Today, I want to give you my first reaction to the Will Dawkins press conference from yesterday. I want to talk about some changes he mentioned to Capital One Arena. Why, after that presser, I am so fired up for training camp to get started next week. And lastly, who is the team's best player currently on the roster? Want to discuss that just a little bit. Again, guys, appreciate all the support right here on the page. Keep tuning in every single weekday to Wizards Latest. And again, want to dive into that Will Dawkins press conference as promised. We don't get to hear him speak that often, really. I mean, I know there's some various talking points for him throughout the year. Really, obviously, I think the last time I think we heard from him was during Summer League when he joined the broadcast there, and of course spoke to the media as well. But my big takeaway every time I hear him talk, really, is man, like this guy just gets it. And I know that sounds simple, but he starts off the presser by shouting out the fans and the media before taking any questions. He talks for about 17 minutes, actually, kind of anticipating some of the media's questions using his, as he said, his journalism background just a little bit to try to make their lives and their job a little bit easier. One of the first quotes from him in that presser, talking directly to this Wizards fan base, talking to us really, and saying, "Your support does not go unnoticed. Keep standing in there with us." This was something for me. I mean, personally, I just really appreciated, and he understands this isn't fun for fans, really. I mean, being not good on the court, winning 18 games, last year isn't like super enjoyable. He gets that, but he wants the fan base to understand this is for a reason. They're not being bad just to be bad, and he doesn't want to skip steps. And in this rebuild, he wants to put a team together completely in the future and have, again, as we always talk about, the capital and the assets to continue building once the team lands some of that blue chip talent. Again, just wants fans to understand what's going on was my big takeaway from this, really. The transparency I kind of appreciated. Did mention some injuries too, kind of ran through an injury report there. Kispert from last season should be in for training camp. Will Riley and Trey Johnson from Summer League look like they're all set for training camp. Obviously, we know Bilal Coulibaly, he's out for he's out for camp. Might probably going to miss a couple weeks in the season. Alex Sarr will miss the start of training camp. AJ Johnson missing the start of training camp, and Tristan Vukcevic, who got injured during Eurobasket, missed the last couple games there. He should be good for camp, so appreciated him as well, giving us some injury updates there. He also talked about some changes to Capital One Arena. Said there's really going to be some big upgrades this year. It'll affect the teams, both the Wizards and the visiting teams, the most. It's going to be locker rooms, training areas, media areas seem to be the biggest upgrade this year. He called it a reimagination of Capital One Arena. Said, this is ongoing, as we sort of know as well, but said the fans are going to start to see and feel some of these changes in the next couple of summers, or after the next couple of summers as well. As again, that reimagination, as he called it, of Capital One is ongoing. He shouts out Ted Leonsis, of course, the team's owner of the Capitals as well, for his willingness to listen to what they need, what the franchises need, and try to give them, those tools to be successful. Again, just another example of the culture change here in DC, here with this organization, trying to become first class in everything that the team does. And even if the product on the court isn't matching up with that yet, again, it's what I talked about yesterday. Let's be innovative instead of being reactive. Let's be on the forefront of, trying new things and just being, the best, whether it's, facilities, whether it's development. Let's, be doing things the right way instead of trying to catch up to the league. Again, just love that. Want to dive in a little bit to some of the team specific stuff he mentioned my huge takeaway, honestly, regardless, I know I mentioned talking about him, just sort of his understanding of the fan base and the media, but in terms of the team itself, my huge takeaway was, man, I am fired up for training camp because he really discussed how much competition is on this Wizards roster, and he's very aware of how often these players were in the facility all summer, how much work they are putting in. He called the offseason a jump season, in fact, because he said it's not a time, especially for these young players, to be taking a break. It's a time for them to be taking a step forward. And he also talked about wanting to see players separate this year and separate themselves from the pack a little bit. And that's, again, something I think, as fans are looking for as well. Who is going to really show they are key pieces for this team's core moving forward, and they can really be, focal point players. Again, just fired up for training camp, of course, starting next week. He mentioned as well he wants to see players get after it in training camp and really be pushing each other. He also talked about wanting to see, tangible improvement on the court. And again, we realize, and I would say he was very careful not to put any sort of win totals or maybe like firm uh firm points that he's looking for, but he was clear that he wants to see players improving and tangible progress from these, again, from that young core as they move forward. Again, just so fired up to get training camp started. Really just excited to see these guys push each other and figure out who's going to carve out big time NBA roles for themselves. I also think, even for the guys that maybe don't end up being part of the Wizards' future core, being part of this battle in training camp, being part of these off-season, minutes, fights for minutes, I think is going to help everybody in that locker room in their NBA careers. That competition, just again, is going to be huge for all those guys. Last thing I want to talk about here today actually stemmed from the Josh Robbins podcast discussion I had the other day on the show, talking about who is the team's best player currently. Josh Robbins, again, Wizards writer for The Athletic, he said he felt like it was Chris Middleton that was the current best player. Now, we did caveat that by saying Middleton might not get to show it a whole bunch during the year, just where he stands in the rotation. I would argue that CJ McCollum is the team's current best player. Remember, he's averaged 21 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds a game last year in 56 games played on the year, shot 44% from the floor, 37% from three-point land. Not, going to give you maybe full seasons anymore like he once was, but still playing the majority of the year and putting up close to all-star level stats. I think really at this point in their careers, McCollum probably has a little bit more left in the tank than Middleton does. The more important question, though, let's be honest, is who is going to be the team's best player moving forward? Is it going to be Trey Johnson, Cam Whitmore, Keyshawn George? Is he not even on the team yet? Could he be found in next year's draft? Really, kind of, again, part of this year's learning and growing process is finding out some answers to these questions, finding out just who's the best player and who has the most potential out of that young group of guys. Again, we've talked a whole bunch about the Will Dawkins presser here today, I should say. And again, he said he made no mistake. We've leaned into the youth movement this year. It means that I'm not quite sure how things are going to look, going into the season. We might set records for lineup combinations and youngest players or youngest lineups in the league. He's fine with all that. Again, he just wanted fans to understand what the team is doing, what they're trying to put together, and remind us all this is for a reason moving forward. I'm not going to say the win total is going to go crazy this year, but I do think we are going to see progress. And I will continue to say here on the page, the future is bright in DC for this Washington Wizards franchise. I will keep you posted on everything the Wizards do, so make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Turn on post notifications. Keep tuning in every single weekday. Remember, I'm on the go this week. Got the usual backdrop returning next week. Training camp starting next week as well. Going to talk about that over the next couple of days. Again, guys, appreciate all the support and thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.